And now, Billy on Byng, a birthday tribute paid to Douglas Byng by Billie Milton.
Well, hello. As you've heard, I'm Billie Milton, and this is my old friend.
Good evening. Well, just to introduce myself and some of the songs that I wrote and sang in cabaret, I'm Douglas Byng. I entertained at supper the smarter members of the class called upper, those idle rich who never went to bed and clamoured for amusement while they fed, where debutantes acquired the champagne habit in evening wraps of ermine or white rabbit, and actresses with tempers and with sables raised hell because they hadn't sent a tables. My songs were said to be a trifle risky, but made the nicest just so frisky. Sedate, black-jetted bosoms heaved with laughter. Oh, what has he said now? Their daughters pointed jokes out to them after. And though the tone of Mendelssohn's own spring song may perhaps be more artistic than a Byng song, I still maintain I've nothing to feel shy about. I told the young those things that parents lie about.
Dougie Byng is a supreme artist of cabaret, revue and panto, whose career has spanned an amazing 80 years on stage. I'm more than happy to greet him today because yesterday he was 94 years young.
Give me the chance to recapture romance. Give me a night at the ball. Give me the thrill of the waltz and quadrille, music and lights that enthrall. And give me the fun when dressing's begun, fires in the bedroom at 4. Oh, full of verve in that pink satin merve. Only fate knows what's in store. Ah, there's the cab at the door. Oh, for a night in the ballroom. Oh, for the music so grand. Oh, for the palms and the parquet. Oh, for the strains of the band. Chaperones snooze in their sequins. Wallflowers wilt by the wall. But everyone there's put on clean underwear. All for the ball. Everything's so alive as we tear up the drive. See in each window a light. Ah, here's the door. Where's my new feather boa? Oh, there it is. There's Maud. She's wearing her white. She would, the cat. Amy, don't look. We must cut Mrs. Slook since that affair at the meet. Oh, so the oak room is used as the cloakroom. Every arrangement complete. Don't leave your fan on the seat. Oh, for a night in the ballroom, everyone gasping for air. Was it a cork or a corset? Pop beneath Aunt Agatha's chair. See, she has sped to the arbour. Oh, will she be stopped in the hall? The water tilts rustle, the wind's in our bustle. All at the ball. Oh, for a night in the ballroom. Oh, for the supper at 10. Oh, Nellie's pink wobbling jellies, how they excite all the men. Who put the wine in the trifle? Oh, talk about Rome and its fall. They'll all carry on till the last tartar's gone. All at, oh, perhaps not, the ball.
I've known Dougie for many, many years, but it's only recently that we joined together in happy partnership to tour Britain with a nostalgic two-man revue called Those 30s Memories. And it's no secret that Dougie is 94. I'm willing to admit I'm a mere slip of an 80-year-old, so combined our age on stage is 174 years. I met Dougie first when he offered me a cabaret engagement at his famous nightclub in St. Martin's Lane, London, which was called The Kind Dragon. He managed to persuade some marvellous performers to play there. I can recall Beatrice Lilly, Florence Desmond, Hutch, and my old friend Maurice Chevalier, who once appeared there for nothing. You know, those were the days when people like Dougie and me got standing ovations. Nowadays, we get ovations for just standing. As it turned out, I couldn't accept his kind offer to appear at the club, as I was just off to Broadway to appear in Noel Coward's revue, This Year of Grace. I was to play the juvenile lead and to understudy Coward himself. I had the honour, finally, of replacing Noel in the show. When it was showtime at the Kind Dragon, Dougie and another review artist, Lance Lister, opened with this song. It's rather rude, and it's called The Cavalry Boys. As you'll hear, this is a very old record, but then it was a long time ago.
We are most refined, we've a limousine, and the dainty maisonette in Golders Green. Always live and gay, like the flowers in May. We are starring in the London Cabaret. We're the big sensation of the show, and the managers all adore us, so you ought to know. We're the boys, the Cabaret Boys. We're the leading London nightclub's only joys. Although our songs are always on the bright side, on Saturday night we're always just a trifle on the tight side. Tom comes out of the bar when he hears our music on the orchestra. We start to put on the music hall for dear old Dan, and though we were put on first, we didn't do so bad, till we saw a couple of strong men and we both went mad. We're the nightclub joys, the Cabaret Boys.
On my return from the bright lights of Broadway, I popped in again to see Dougie at his club and caught a new song he was breaking in. You may not believe this, but it was banned by the BBC at the time. Well, things have changed since then. Now here it is, Doris, the Goddess of Wind.
Goddess of the wine both rough and rude. They say I'm even more unkind than man's ingratitude. I'm really not an ill wind, though I don't get many thanks for being, well, a frolic wind, just one of nature's pranks. I put things in a whirl, I'm just a naughty little girl. I'm Doris, a goddess of wind. My behavior's quite undisciplined. I rush through the valleys and tear up the trees and brush up the hair on old Scott Skilly's knees. I'm Doris, the goddess of wind, and although you suppose you're thick-skinned, taking tea in the garden when skies are so blue, and you think there's no breeze to disturb your bon goût, but you eat a few crumpets and see what I'll do. It's the wind! It's the wind! Woo! I quite delight in blowing carrier pigeons from their course, and I do the most peculiar things to messages in Morse. I lurk in all the churches when the curate reads a prayer, and find the open spaces in his woolsey underwear. Oh, I seek out every niche. I'm just a wicked little witch. I'm Doris, the goddess of wind. Woo! I make old ladies burp when they're gin. Transformations and tubes I tear into shreds, then I blow all the clothes off their old feather beds. I'm Doris, the goddess of wind. I tap parlourmaids' hands till they're skinned. Then I whiz down the chimney and frighten the cook, or turn over the leaves of Aunt Agatha's book and blow all the soot up her old ingle nook. It's the wind! It's the wind! I'm Doris, the goddess of wind. I make all sorts of things come unpinned. I rustle the newspapers all over town, and just after breakfast attack Major Brown. I'm Doris, the goddess of wind, and I don't get a puff when I've sinned. I blow through the bedrooms and blow out the light. I blow to the left and I blow to the right. My life's just one blow through from morning till night. It's the wind! It's the wind!
Our next meeting was a very lucky one for me. I was walking through Leicester Square after playing a matinee, and I bumped into Dougie. He said, "You seem very happy today, Billy." And I said, "Yes, Dougie, I've just been asked by Lady Roby to play Dame in Panto." Lady Roby was the wife of the great music hall comic George Roby. I'd been asked to play Sarah, the cook in Dick Whittington, whereupon Dougie's eyebrows shot up to the skies. "Oh, my dear, I can't see you as a dame," he said, giving that famous twitch. "And anyway, you'll need at least £250 a week. You'll have to supply all your own wigs, frocks, costumes and shoes." What he didn't know was that my agent was going to ask only £40 a week, as I hadn't played dame before. So you see, he did me a very good turn, bless him. Then he proceeded, in the middle of Leicester Square, to give me a snatch of a new song he'd just written. It was called Burdessian.
I'm just a keen old British queen who rules the countryside. I never disregard my high vocation. My noble heart just bursts apart with patriotic pride against all those who gate crash on the nation. So when the Romans snatched our home and taxed us up a beer, accursed with thirst, the first to burst was dear old Burdessian. I really am a dear, so give the girl a cheer. Oh, not a sound. Still, I shall make my speech just the same. Of course, I flourished very early. I was one of the very early birds, very popular at school. I was always a tom-tom, a tomboy. And for years I was head girl at St. Mammoth's. You should have seen me playing cricket with the Romans. My body line didn't half make a mess of their wicket. And many a time I've been caught in the slips and liked it. And as for tennis, well, I started in a love set, but I got to centre court in the final, so that was that. We had a very odd uniform, just plain blue woad rubbed all over. But it was very awkward. We used to climb out of the dormitory window on a Saturday night, a nice even Cambridge blue, and climb in again Oxford in the most peculiar places. We called it getting our blue. I was very successful in warfare too. Those scythes on my chariot wheels were very useful, but I had a nasty mishap when I was rehearsing with them. I thought I'd pop over one Sunday afternoon to have a cup of mead with an old druid I knew called Gwydlan Friggath. When I arrived, Gwyd was in the garden pruning the oak tree. So I dashed up the drive, I was in top gear at the time, and cut off his mistletoe bough. He said, "Now look, you took goodness whatever." I said, "Oh, it's no good. There's nothing whatever to look at." Oh, I got very Welsh. Of course, I could never abide druids, really. Nasty, hairy old men. The goings-on in those sacred groves of theirs was nobody's business. I shall never forget being lured into a sacred grove by an old druid who said, "I want to talk to you about the hereafter." I said, "Why the hereafter?" He replied, "Because if I don't get what I'm here after, you'll be here after I've gone." I replied, "Bronto, Bronto, Soras to you," which means roughly, "Let everyone hold his peace." Aboard this year, I woke up the Iceni with notes as clear as Madame Tetrazzini. Give a cheer for Britain's warrior queen. Raise your spear, no matter where it's been, but here. Just call me Queenie. We needn't try to keep the party clean. Oh, my people all adore me, so I often give them hell. But school books never tell that when a warrior fell, it was I who taught him how to say a soldier's fond farewell. The girls give a scream. Whoop, the warrior queen!
Dougie and I teamed up to present our two-man review, Those 30s Memories, comparatively recently. The idea was suggested by some very nice people in show business and led to an extended tour culminating in a Royal Command performance at Drury Lane. As far as the tour itself went, we seemed to have the best of luck in Brighton. It's always meant a lot to both of us. Dougie used to live there, and believe it or not, I was actually conceived there, in the Hotel Metropole in room 222. And it was in Brighton that we were given a standing ovation. During the show, I sang a number of mine, which the late Queen Mary used to find amusing. And it's called I'm the Only Farquhar on the Pier. Whilst walking one day on that old Brighton pier, a mechanical voice I was startled to hear. It came from a slot machine just by my side, where in a glass case sat a figure of pride, with turban and beard, oriental and fine, telling slot machine fortunes was clearly his line. Just as I turned my head, these were the words that he said. I'm the only Farquhar on the pier, and it's hardly the place for a seer here, far away from the comforts of tropical Eden. You don't know how I suffer from the cold and the wind, and it's very bad luck when my drawers get stuck and the rabble tries shaking them clear. They bang on my sides at the slightest suggestion and leave my integrity open to question, and their bent pennies give such acute indigestion. Oh, the only fakir on the pier. I'm the only fakir on the pier, and I really must shed an austere tear. In winter by frost's icy fingers I'm gripped, while even brass monkeys are better equipped, and then little boys write on my sides with delight words not even used in Kashmir. I contemplate much, though I don't wish to boast. In a yoga-like trance I'm often engrossed, but the paint's wearing off where I contemplate most. For I'm the only fakir on the pier. I'm the only fakir on the pier. And sometimes I feel ever so queer, dear. The trippers don't know what the word fakir means, and they will confuse me with those darn fruit machines. And a man who was tight showed unseemly delight when his card was delivered just here. He got all worked up when his friend tried to speak and said, "Don't stop me now on a good winning streak," and changed £2 for pennies. Oh, and left me quite weak, for I'm the only fakir on the pier. Dougie was always very popular with the royal family, and I suppose they liked to be gently shocked by his risque songs. One of their favourites was that number he wrote with Annette Mills and became very popular. Of course, it's the Tree Song.
To think that I should ever be just nothing better than a tree, stuck here in lonely solitude, so old and shivering in the nude, without a leaf to form a burden cloak. It's not a joke to be a blasted oak. I'm a tree, little birdies used to nest in. I'm a tree, pretty children used to rest in. It was me, all the pixies did adore so. Now perspiring hikers clean their bikes against my torso. I'm a tree, all the woodpeckers meet friends in. A tree that all the squirrels spend weekends in. A tree done in by lightning and hailstones hard as agates. A tree with fallen branches, all my children now are faggots. You must admit it's lousy to be full of wind and maggots. God knows why I'm a tree. To think that I should have to wear a nest of robins in my hair. The goings-on beneath the branches are worse than underneath the arches. I'd really like to give them all a shove. I'm tired of being a dumb support for love. I'm the tree that the Virgin Queen once hid in. I'm the tree that the gypsy left a kid in. I'm a tree, never mind how chill the air is. Nudists dance around me shouting, "We believe in fairies." Just a tree. I was once a tree of knowledge, a tree by which young men climbed in at college. A tree that tramps encamp against their ragged clothes and pinning. A tree that lovers lean against when spring is just beginning. You really must admit that I'm more sinned against than sinning. God knows why I'm a tree. A tree that every pussycat each morning comes and claws at. A tree that every water rat each evening comes and gnaws at. A tree that for some reason every dog decides to pause at. God knows why I'm a tree.
Dougie Byng was always the toast of the famous Café de Paris, society's elegant watering hole in Coventry Street, just off Piccadilly Circus. That was during the 20s and 30s. I often went to his opening nights. There were great occasions frequented by stars, royalty, and all the great dance bands of that era.
In these merry Stuart days, the nation seldom gets depressed, or through that merry monarch, cheerful Charles, the stage door pest. But who is it supplies the wit that keeps his temper in? None other than my pretty, witty Mistress Nelly Gwynn. Hey-ho, father all day, pushing me through in the King's highway. And off to Nelly Gwynn's sport in Ellie Gwyn, a flopping around in Drury Lane, popping in pubs and out again. A truly sorry state of grace I found old England in, but Nellie was waiting in the queue. I threw a blood orange at Charlie too. He was hit in the pit before he knew. Not in Ellie Gwyn. To liven up the town, methinks I did me very best. 'Twas I restored the revels that old Cromwell had suppressed. At Pickham Fair I did my share of witchery and fun, with half an Elgin candle and a halfpenny Chelsea bun. I spy cockles awry, who'll have a dip in the old bran pie? Not in Ellie Gwyn, full of port and gin, a dashing around the mulberry bush, cannoning off the royal cush. Though many favourites tried the door, a very few got in, but Nellie was out to make a spread. I learned me lovely silver bed, with my royal appointment overhead, a naughty Ellie Gwyn.
In the 20s and 30s, and even into wartime, cafe nightlife never started until well after midnight. So if, like me, you were performing in a West End show, you could always catch an act like Dougie's when you'd finished. I remember well sitting in his dressing room one night for a chat. London at that time was being badly bombed, and for some reason I had an awful premonition about the Café de Paris. It was hollow as an eggshell and built just below ground level. I said to Dougie, it would be a total disaster if this place was ever hit. He said, "Oh, shut up, Billy. That's enough of your morbid thoughts." As fate would have it, Dougie was performing in a charity show at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane the night the cafe was bombed. And if he hadn't paused on his way back to the cafe for a sandwich and a coffee, he would have most certainly been killed. Alas, many were, including that famous band leader, Snake Hips Johnson. As far as writing songs goes, Dougie's still at it even in his 90s. He's turned out scores of them over the years. Sir John Betjeman said such a nice thing about him. He said, "Dougie Byng is not only a great comic, he's much more than that. He's a poet."
And now the favourite of them all, a song about my faithful old friend Flora MacDonald. Now of all the clans in Scottish lands, there's none that can compare with the bonny old clan MacDonald, and you'll find them everywhere. Pride of the pack was Flora Mac, the flower of the flock. Her heel and fling made everything turn purple with the shock. Flora MacDonald, heavy with haggis and dripping with dew. Mony's the night she was out in the heather, bending the bracken with the young Charlie stew. Flora MacDonald, was she when George called her and bade her go forth. Clutched at his kilt and went over the border, oh, well over the border. Old Flo MacDonald, the hen of the north. Our thoughts shall fly to times gone by, when Charlie came to sup, and Mony a braw brech moonlech nest, oh dear, she had to put him up. One night she found his appetite was off a keen and raw, but she said, "No, you'll have your oats in bed, and not before." Old Charles was very fond of porridge, very addicted to the groat. But Flora worked very hard in the days of the Scottish Wars. Oh, she had to do her bit. She had to do a good deal. She'd never seen so many risings in the lowlands in her life. And those banks and braes of Bonnydoon, everyone was so busy there was nowhere to lie down at all. But Scotland was very gay, people taking high roads and low roads, and bodies meeting bodies through the eye. At any moment you might get your feet cut off with a sickle, and not always your feet. But the life and soul of the whole campaign was Charles Stuart himself, the young pretender. Once Flora had to hide him under her skirt for safety. Not much pretence about him, but what a sport. There he was, out in the mornings, playing those Hieland games with the men. Do you know he once tossed his caber so far it was found stuck in an old lady's girdle cake in Inverness? Oh, he never saw it again. Still, the old girl was very pleased. Just a royal present from over the seas. Flora and Charles were always quarrelling. They had a terrible row at the Caledonian Hotel in Edinburgh, all about nothing. One evening, Charles came into the hotel and asked for a tartan room, and got both. All he wanted was a bit of fancy work on the city. So Flora changed the subject and talked finance, always dear to the heart of the Scot, and said, "What do you think of the new fourpenny bit?" And Charles said, "Where does she live?" But on they went, fleeing before the enemy, attacked on every side. Charles had some terrible attacks. There was that terrible morning he passed air and had to rush to Preston Pans. Dreadful place, nowhere to sit down, all granite. And through it all, whether in sadness or in gladness, with the sound of the brocking o'er the hill, there was always Flora MacDonald, blown out your porridge again and again. Oops on the moors with a wind in her tartan. Oh, those young grouse. And never a sign of an old button then, whatever that was. Flora MacDonald, cheap as the sea in the old purple fort. Never a traitor shall snatch at a sporran. Old Flo MacDonald, the hen of the north.
Well, it's been a marvellous life for both of us. So many songs, so many shows. I hope there'll be more, but it's nice remembering the past, and even more looking forward to the future. Here's a song that I've just written. If you're listening in, Dougie, this one is for you. Why do I think of the old days when they are so far away? Why do I miss all the old ways? You'll understand when I say I remember those days of love and youth and fun, taking my chances, candlelight dances, unanswered glances, moonlight romances. I remember those days. Forget them, I won't try. Now it's December, I will remember those days till I die.
Billie Milton, Looking Back with Douglas Byng. The programme was produced by Alan Owen.